All right, hey guys, welcome to another video with Trading with Chris. And in today's video, I'm going to be covering my trade from July 3rd, and I'm going to be doing a weekly recap, just kind of going over the week's trade. Now, we don't actually have a whole lot that was happening this week, but because it's the 4th of July week and all that, so I wanted to make sure I just kind of recover everything here and just share all my thoughts and everything happened, and the really bad trade I took on Wednesday that I'm going to discuss real quick here before we get into the review. So let's get started. So the trade I was looking at on Wednesday was a stock called CNSP. Let's see here. It would have been CNS Pharmaceuticals, so a pharmaceutical company. They did have news on something. I can't remember if this was the one. They had some news on basically some Alzheimer news or something like that. It was something along that lines. They had good news, and that helped. And I thought really maybe we'd get a good trade on this. And then when I actually looked at the metrics for this stock, we had a low float, 1.42 million, and at the time we had a high volume on the stock. It was in the millions, so it was definitely 5 times relative volume at that point. And then the average volume obviously is 1.32 million, so this stock was actually really looking pretty good for a possible. It had news, it met all the metrics, and everything looked pretty good, at least on the fundamental analysis what I initially did on the stock. But then I went back and I looked at the rest of this when I got to the chart, and we could have looked at the daily at that point, and we've seen that as far as the daily goes, this stock just didn't look the best. It just didn't look as good, but I'm willing to forgo that, and not just go right to the daily. But overall, it looked like the best stock possibly if it kind of came to the right level and got above VWAP and all this stuff. Because before trading had commenced, at least at 9:30, this stock was actually trending down. It was below the 9. It was below the MACD. So it really didn't look too good until at the 9:30 bell, and that is where all my troubles began, because I got in on this trade at let's see here, we'll grab this real quick. So I got in at 259 and got out at 290 or 293. Got in at 293 and got out at 259. So what happened? I got in way too extended on this stock, and then just like that, guess what? Since the stock just quickly dropped, and I had a flush, and I got out at $2.59, taking a 34 cents per share loss, or $102 on a 300 share position. So guess what? I lost a little bit of money. Obviously, you can tell by my P&L, I was up pretty good the other day, and then all of a sudden, we can just like that lose a bunch of money. And why did this happen? And I wanted to spend a little bit of time to think, why did this happen? What were some of the things that could have told me that, hey, we could have bypassed this entire stock if we would have just not got into it? What would have been those signals to me? Number one, just looking at it, just right off the bat, the 9 and VWAP, and then the 20. So I like to see where the 9, the 20, VWAP, and then the 200. If I see all those lines in that order, that means to me like, hey, we're in the right position. We're moving in the right direction. And when they're not, guess what? That's obviously a sign to me that we're not in the right spot. We're not trading in the right spot. The other signal to me was the MACD. The MACD was obviously not crossed over the signal line, and we were not in the right position. Obviously, I had red bars down here, and it was kind of starting to curl back up to cross the MACD, but we weren't across it yet. That's the thing I needed to realize, that we weren't across. I shouldn't even looked at that trade. And because of that, we had a false breakout, and guess what? Boom. Right there, we lost a lot real quick. And that can happen, especially in the beginning. That's why I recommend starting with a paper trading account like the one they have in Webull, like I'm using here, or whatever platform you prefer using. Use that and just get in there and take these trades, because that way you can see how this whole process works, and you can sidestep those things later on. And that's one of the reasons I do these videos, because it allows me to like analyze the stock and go back through, why did I make that trade? Well, I got in at 293. I was obviously way too extended over the 9 at this point. And at that point, I mean, the chances of it doing a reversal is pretty good. It could have gone the other way, but the other thing was volume is just in short supply today. It's 4th of July week. Everybody's ready to get out and get done and move on with life and not be sitting there looking at a computer screen all day. Well, when you look at the volume bar, the first volume bar was really good. It was green, but after that, we got terrible volume. We didn't get a whole lot of volume. And as a result, that's probably a big reason why this trade really stomped out, because there was just not enough volume there. There was not enough people to push it up to make it great, to push it right back up to where it should be. Now, a trade that if I would have stayed and just sat and watched, obviously this stock started going sideways, and then it started to climb above VWAP right here, and then it held VWAP, and then it shot back up. And if I would have got in on this trade right here, I think this would have been the right trade to get in on. But overall, I feel like I got over anxious. I got in too quick. I was just thinking, let's get in, let's get out, and it really ended up being a bad trade. The people who are the most patient with these things, when you're first learning, you have to be very patient to wait for the setup, to wait for that to come about. A lot of people just want to see it and just jump right in, and that's what I did right there, and that was my big mistake I made. So I should have sat back a little bit. I should have just waited. I also maybe should have took a little bit of a less share size on this particular stock, and I should have just kind of held back and said, hey, I'll wait, because this ain't crossed over, this don't look right. I think we're gonna hold back here and then just wait. So that's what I should have done. Now, as for the 5th, today is the 5th of July, so the day after the 4th, and I decided not to take any trades today just because of the same reasons. There's just not enough volume, and actually one of the big gainers today is, if I go back to my screener here real quick, in Webull, I mean, there's a couple of good trades going on right now. I mean, am I going to take those trades? No. I mean, look at this. This one just gapped up huge. BENF. Let's just look at the stats on this real quick. And honestly, it's moving up pretty quick. Do I want to take a trade on it? I don't know. It's holding up right now. Maybe I'll give it a second here and I'll take a look at it. But I wasn't really planning on taking any trades today. Let's look at the news on this one real quick here. Let's see. Bennett announces rescheduled 4th quarter and full year fiscal 2024 earnings release and webcast. So evidently that was probably good, or they would have not gone up on their stock. So that's always good. If we look at this real quick, let's go look at the metrics. So obviously the metrics, their average volume, 895,000 rough. Volume, not very high, so their volume ain't even as much as that, so that's a big negative for me. It's resumed, and guess what? And then the float, 1.74 million, which is good. But when we look at this, I mean, it's obviously pushing back down. Probably not a good thing, so I'm going to just steer clear of this one here today and not get into that one. ZAPP was another stock that was pretty good. Kind of choppy, honestly, with these topping tails and stuff like that. Traded sideways, had another little kick here, but then a huge flush. So not so good. Going to stay clear of that one as well. Probably going to get caught up in a bad trade if I do that. And you can tell, like, these trades, the better move was obviously at the beginning. They had a secondary move in there that might have been good, but going to steer clear of those. Honestly, it's just too choppy. This is just too choppy for me to get in there for a trade and get something decent out of it today. So I'm going to steer clear of that one as well and just hold off. So let's go ahead. I'm going to review just the remaining week here, just what we did here. I took a total of 4 trades this week overall, and I had, let's see, so I had 2 red trades and I had 2 green trades. So overall, that puts me at a 50% on my P&L. 50% on my success rate. My P&L is a loss of $51, $51.50 for the week. It's not so good. So kind kind of really sucks to end it on a note like that. But hey, it is what it is, and we just got to move on with it all. So overall, I wish I would have taken a big size share trade on this one right here on CNSP. I wish I wouldn't have taken that particular trade. Knowing what I know now, I would have just held off, and I said, nope, we ain't going to take that trade. I would have been better off just not trading at all that day. And overall, if I just knew I couldn't. And that's the thing. You got to feel comfortable with not taking the trade when it's not setting up properly, when it's not the trade. And in my situation, I'm only taking this trade if it's a pullback or a micro pullback. That is all I'm looking for. So just a pullback in general. And sometimes it's a micro pullback, sometimes it's a regular pullback. But overall, 52.50 and then $104 loss, which really sucks to end it that way. But it just really did not come together as a solid trade that day. And really, I decided at that point, I'm just going to shut it down. I'm going to come back the following Monday. I wasn't even going to trade today. It's just like, we're going to take time off and then go from there. The other thing that I noticed was that my when it comes down to it, usually you want to have a 2-to-1 risk-reward ratio. Well, because of that trade, I had a 1 to almost 4 risk-reward ratio, meaning, I'd have to be right 75% of the time in order to, if I had a 1 to 4 risk-reward ratio, I'd be right 75% of the time, guys, just to break even. So that's a terrible risk-reward ratio right there. Earnings per share has dropped to 2 cents on average. My entries obviously are reverse of my exits, which are not good. And I had 2. Oh no, wait, we got to change that. That was 1. That was 1 decent trade that had 10 cents and above on my EPS, which is not so good. So hopefully we can turn that around at the end of the week here. So we'll actually change that to red there because that's negative now. And then we're also going to be a negative 51.5 right there as well. So that puts that down to a negative for the first week of July to a negative 51.50. Not terrible, not like huge amounts of money lost on this, but it was just kind of frustrating when you have one of these big losses like that. Now you've really got to kind of dig yourself out of a hole, and that's always a problem. But like I said, if you just take the time to pick the right trade and then look for the right setup and not get too over anxious, I think you'll do a lot better. That's one thing I've got to learn in myself. But also, paper trade. Do not get in these things with real money until you have a solid strategy where you can show like, hey, I've got 2 months, 3 months of solid trading, making money every week. I'm making a profit and I'm doing good. You might have some red days, you might have some really good green days, but overall you're having a profitable week, you're having profitable months, and it's looking like you're going to actually be able to make money with this. Because if I get in right now with real money, I'm going to lose money. That's not a good thing. So we don't want to do that yet. I still got a lot to learn. May take a while yet. So just hang in there with me and follow me. So, all right, next week, I will not have any trades during the week that I'll be showing you, but I will have my recap next weekend. So you can check that out next weekend when I post that. So overall, hope this has been helpful. Hopefully, following me along, subscribe to the channel. If you'd like to do that, just go right over to right here to Trading with Chris. Over on my YouTube channel, you can subscribe, you can sign up, and catch all my videos that I have here that I'm putting together. And you can learn how to get in some of this and start learning your own trading plan and putting all that together and building up your own trading business and doing all that as well to make some money on the side. So hope you all find this helpful. I'll see you in the next video.